Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, a podcast we talk all things about the fantastic, amazing, and spectacular professional wrestling company that is Stardom. Folks, we do it in a positive and we like to think fun manner. I am your host for this bonus interview. My name is Matt Turner, and folks, I'm joined by one of the hottest prospects in all of independent wrestling and probably maybe the busiest person in Las Vegas for WrestleMania weekend about 2 months ago. I am with the It Girl, one Mayu World. Mayu, thank you so much for taking time to join us on the Stardom Cast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for the match that we're going to be talking about coming up. Thank you for the introduction also. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. We obviously wanted to have you on for quite a bit, but we're glad we're able to make the time. Obviously, the main crux of having you on is to talk about your big match coming up this weekend for the Spark Joshi Championship against one Hazuki. But before we get there, again, I just talked about how you may or may not have been the busiest person in all of Las Vegas just this past WrestleMania weekend. So correct me if I'm wrong, because myself and Rob, we were at a lot of the shows that you were on. In about a 24 to a 34-hour period, did you not wrestle Kyoko Inoue, Aja Kong, Miyamoto, Azumi, as well as there's another name I'm missing here. There was another big name. Oh, and then there was I had it right here because I think I was at said show. It was Rina Yamashita. That's right. At the
Yes.
which was that was a marathon because that show was at 11 o'clock at night. So you did all of that within about a 30 to 34 hour period, correct?
Yes, I did. It was so crazy. It's like 4 to 5 dream matches that I've wanted back to back. It was insane. But yes, I did. And they were all the same hard hitting type matches. I definitely grew a lot from just those 24, 48 hours as a in competitor, legit, just because who I was in there with.
Yeah, and then the arena match again. Myself and Rob were there. That was like our fourth or fifth show of the night. And I remember going into the building, and we just came back from Bloodsport, so we were exhausted. So we were just like, all right, let's see what this atmosphere is. And obviously, that building held maybe 350 people, and everybody was jazzed up, and just the energy from that crowd at that marvelous show was unbelievable. And you had one of the standout performances of that match, and it was really cool because I'm obviously a big fan of Rena. Rena's now in Stardom, part of me, La Vida Loca. But she almost like wrestled like a heel and then a comedy match trying to bribe the referee, and then went to a hardcore match and then like a Joshi style match. So it's like you got like four styles of that match all within one. What was that like to prepare with somebody who their main language is not English, and obviously your main language is not Japanese? You're able to put like almost like four styles together in one match and hit an absolute banger. What was that like with her?
It was so fun. In the match, I honestly prepared for like some hard. She's a deathmatch wrestler. Or that's one of the things she does. Of course, she does everything. But and so I was prepared for a hard hitting. I was prepared for what was to come. I didn't know what was going to happen. Obviously, didn't think bribing the ref was going to happen and getting like weapons involved, of course. But the fact that like we did, like it was something I was like probably could happen. So I definitely prepared myself for that. But just getting the whole like hardcore Japanese, hard hitting, like all that into one match was probably what I'd expected from someone, as crazy as Rina Yamashita.
Yeah.
And it was just a good experience for me for sure. And it was definitely one of my favorite matches of the weekend because I haven't got to dabble in a lot of hardcore yet. So that's one of my main things I've been wanting to do. So the fact that happened was like probably definitely one of my favorite matches of the weekend.
Again, you were very very busy. Just really, and again, me and Rob, we looked at each other and said, "Wow, she was not only busy, but like you had all great matches against Joshi legends with Kyoko and Aja Kong, and
Right,
then obviously you were teaming with Starlight Kid opposite Azumi." And
right.
they a week later they went on to have a big match at All Star Grand Queendom in front of
Yep.
7,500 people, semi main event for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. What was that like? Like one teaming with Starlight Kid, who's a massive star. And again, she's like only like maybe 5'2", 5'3", but in your presence, she feels like she's 7 feet.
Yeah.
So what was it like teaming with a massive star like Starlight Kid and opposite one Azumi, maybe the fastest wrestler in all of wrestling? And I always say
Yeah.
outside of Will Ospreay, maybe the most talented wrestler in all of wrestling. But what was that like, one teaming with Starlight Kid and then being across the ring from one Azumi?
Honestly, like I said, it's probably one of my number one matches. Like, like in terms of dream matches, because Azumi is probably like who I wanted to face, probably been number one on my list to face since I started, besides, you know, the one who got me into wrestling, Mercedes or anything like that. But Azumi has definitely been someone I've wanted to challenge myself against just because of that fast, high speed type style that she wrestles, because that's something that I also want to incorporate into my matches is that high speed, and I do that whenever I'm able to. But so just being across the ring from her, as soon as it was announced, I was so ready. Like, I mean, I don't even know, I can't even like express that weekend because every match I was like so excited for. Like Joshi, all the Japanese girls I got to face, like is all I want. Like I want to go to Japan. I would stay in Japan for years if I could, and just stay there and train and be under that and under those amazing wrestlers. But in terms of
Yeah.
that, like I got to wrestle my girl Johnny Robbie, who after the match we were kind of just hyping each other up, like, girl, we did that. Like we wrestled for Stardom. We had a great match. Like even though we were freaking opponents, we still were like so proud of each other just because we know how big of stars Azumi and Starlight Kid are. So we definitely were so excited after that match.
Was there anything that you learned from them, like either before the match or after the match, like little things that maybe they were putting together, or afterwards they said, hey, you did this, you know, really good, but maybe try this next time? Was like one or two like little nuggets of information you may have picked up from Azumi and Starlight Kid either before, during, or after the match?
They have this, you know, they have this big rivalry going on. So what they were doing was just like fighting. Honestly, it was just like fighting. So they definitely gave us some good advice. More so like how to keep, you know, keep the intensity up in certain points of the matches. They did also tell us like everything we did was, you know, amazing. We did so good for our debuts. They didn't really have much, but they did have that at least to say, which is, you know, amazing. Because I mean, Azumi are the same age. I think Starlight's a little bit older, but just getting to wrestle her and we're all around the same age and all killing it at our ages is amazing. But that's kind of all they told us. Just keep the intensity up.
That's a really good stamp of approval. And again, it's almost like, you know, when you have a big match, you're just like, wow, that was terrific. And you're just like, okay, great. What's next? And you're on
Yeah.
to the next thing in that weekend. So it's probably like when you finally came home, you're able to decompress. And it's like, wow, like what a, you know, and you were the buzzworthy wrestler, you know, coming off WrestleMania weekend on the independence. And I mean, it's akin to one, how great you are already at such a young age. Two, you can tell how much passion, love, and effort you put into it. And then again, you're in the ring. As I said, Starlight Kid, Azumi on top of their game right now, and they've been pros for like since they were 11 or 12. Like that's not even a
Right.
joke. That's literally. And then again, you were with Aja Kong and Kyoko Inoue. What was it like wrestling them? Because Aja Kong, I mean, they both can still go. And we were at their show WrestleMania weekend, Spark Joshi, which we're gonna in Philadelphia, which I definitely don't want to touch upon, where Aja Kong hit that back fist on poor Janai Kai, and it sounded like a gunshot went off. Is that like when you're in there with like someone like Aja Kong, are you excited and kind of intimidated at the same time, or you just kind of just go with the flow?
Definitely. You know, I'm still young into my career. So one of the things I had for the first time I wrestled, which is a completely different story, when I wrestled Athena on Ring of Honor, was that I showed too much respect and I wasn't myself. I was like, I'm across the ring from someone who you know, helped get me into wrestling. And so it was just too much respect in terms of like competition. So that's something I have to take and know that these next opponents that I have to distinctly separate respect in the wrestling. So in this term though, I couldn't. Like it was like Aja Kong and Kyoko. Like I definitely went in there, still competed and definitely still did my thing as I should. But like it's come on, it's Aja Kong. Like of course I still had all that respect for her. And after the match, she, you know, was like she told me I did a great job. She was shaking my hand, even though we lost sadly. But still, like I honestly went in there with like whatever happens, I'm in the ring with Aja Kong and Kyoko. You know, like I'm living. There's nothing else I could say. But I did try my hardest still. I gave her a frog splash, and that just felt good. Not a lot of people can say they frog splash Aja Kong, and I can. So I'll leave with that at least.
Yeah, you're like you know, you put yourself in the like the Miami Toyota. Like you guys are in the same category with that, which
For
again,
what?
which
For
is something.
sure.
Was there one match that you enjoyed, like as soon as the bell rang, it's like, ooh, I enjoyed that one the most, or an exchange with a certain wrestler that you enjoyed? Like, was it Arena? Was it an Azumi? Was it an Aja Kong? Like, was there one person that after the bell was, rang, and then you're able to kind of decompress and saw the litany of great wrestlers you were in the ring with that you're like, man, I would love to run that one back in a singles, like in a big, like in a Cork and Hall setting. Was there one or two wrestlers that really stood out to you?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think it was that tag match for Stardom. Just for the fact that it was for Stardom and it was Azumi, of course, who was opposite of me and with Starlight beside me. I had an exchange with Azumi to start the match. And like I said, it's been what I've been wanting for forever. And it was not too high speed, but it was, that fast pace that I just got like a little taste of it. So like, of course, now I want like the full thing of full high speed experience, because that was just amazing to me. And I go back and watch it all the time. I watched that exchange specifically so many times. So definitely that match.
Yeah, again, you did a great. You do see quite a bit when we have the start. And to me, the Stardom is the creme de la creme. Like they're the best
Yeah,
of the best, not just in Joshi, but in pro wrestling. It's just there's a
yeah,
lot of those wrestlers on the top tier that are just absolutely next level. And when you see them come over to the United States, or you see some of the foreigners go over to Japan, they'll have good matches, but it's just like, you can see they're like a half a step behind or a step behind. Which again, it's not indicative of any of the wrestlers, just how great the Azumi, the Starlight kids
yeah,
are. And like the two wrestlers that we keep saying that like we want to see them in Stardom because they're almost Stardom ready now is Hyan, because she had a great match with Azumi at Prestige a few days before your match, and then
yeah.
you. And then there's a lot of clamoring that everybody wants to see Maya World over in Japan, especially for Stardom. So if you did get your pick of any wrestling company to wrestle over in Japan, would it be Stardom? And if not Stardom, which one would you like to go to?
Definitely Stardom. Like I definitely Stardom. I can't even express that enough, honestly. Like there's like Marvelous, who I'm really like close with, in terms of I've been around them a lot, especially for being at West Coast Pro. Um, but definitely Stardom is the way. Definitely, I can't even Stardom for sure.
Yeah, that's the way to go. That's definitely the way to go.
Yes.
Just going to rewind the clock back just a year because this is something that really it was interesting to me. Last year, you got to at WrestleMania weekend in the legendary Monster Factory on actually WrestleMania Sunday. You were across the ring from, in my opinion, the greatest in-ring women's wrestler of all time, very still much in her prime, in Mayu Iwatani. Correct me
Yes.
if I'm wrong, but that was due to a tryout that
Yeah.
you and Jada Stone passed. So, and obviously you had Konami. Konami was your tag partner, and again, you're across the ring from Mayu. And I know that they put a lot of stuff out about a month prior to do this tryout. But like, how did the tryout like come about, or like when it was over with, was it almost like The Voice or like America's Got Talent, where everybody
Yeah.
lined up and then they picked? Like, if you can just
Yeah.
kind of just take us through the process that was Mayu and Konami picking you and Jada Stone.
Actually, the funny thing is that we didn't know that there was 5 spots up for grabs. So the other 3 spots were for like a triple threat that the girls who competed in the trial got to have, which was just them. And then the final two, which is the one that we knew the trial was for, the tag match, um, they chose those last. So I actually thought I lost. I actually thought I didn't get the trial because the 2 girls they called before, because I thought it was just two, they called like my girl Alejandra Quintanilla and they called Jocelyn Navarro. So like I thought they got it. So I was like, oh shoot, like they got it, not knowing that there were like 5 spots. So but that tryout, it was oh gosh, I can't remember who was in front of. I know it was Mayu. I know Sumi Sakai was there. I know Konami. Actually, I don't even think Konami was there, but I know that there was 2 other girls who I can't remember who they were that were there. But I know I was very excited just to wrestle in front of them. And honestly, I don't know what I was expecting out of the tryout, but it was just a lot of introducing yourself, how long have you been wrestling, and then of course we had a match. And I wrestled Ava Everett in my match. She was another girl who was picked for the triple threat. And that was our first time ever meeting, our first time ever touching. So I was kind of nervous. It was definitely a very nervous experience, just because like I really wanted that match, and I kind of was like, God, I don't come to you for like, I don't beg a lot, but please give me this. And we did, but it was one of those things where we all had our matches. During my match, they were clapping and cheering. And so honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of knew I had it in the bag. Because
Good for you.
I pulled out this one thing that nobody else does. It's this one pin, and I know they popped so hard for it, like all the girls. And I was like in the match, I was like, oh my gosh, like oh shit, shoots that they popped for that. So I kind of knew I had in the bag from that, but I still was like, I hope it's me. But it was very nerve-wracking just wrestling in front of Mayu because, again, I honestly didn't have Mayu on my dream match list because it was one of those things where, like, this is never going to happen type. Like, I was like, this is never going to happen. So, I'm going to put her there because she's just so, like, an icon. Like, that's what she is, the stardom icon, because she is an icon. It just never was in my stratosphere. So when this happened, I was like, I need to get this match. I never thought this would happen, especially not for me. 1 year and a half into my career. But that was just like the first of many like great things that happened in 2024, and I think that definitely kickstarted the great things that happened that year.
Yeah, it was really kind of just lit everything up,
Right.
because that was the first time that I saw you, and I was like, wow, she's again hanging with Mayu, which is insane, which is insane. I mean, you guys had a exchange in the beginning. I know Jada and
Yeah.
Konami, they had their exchange where they were just doing the technical wrestling, Konami doing what Konami does, breaking down a body part, and then
Right.
and then you and Mayu get in the ring, and it's Mayu's wrestling Mayu, and I was like, everybody in the crowd there was like, wow, she's hanging with Mayu. So it's just like
Yeah.
you probably have the nerves. Plus, that building was mega hot.
It was
I think
very hot.
it was oversold. I mean, that was over a year ago. So I guess I can say this now. If the fire marshal came in, they would have shut that baby down because you couldn't move. But like when you have that heat, and I don't wrestle as much as I used to, but I just remember wrestling in hot buildings. You're like you're like 2 minutes in, and you're like, man, I felt like I ran a marathon because it's so
Yeah.
hot in that building. And then it's encapsulated by how many fans were there, and they were rowdy, they were in for everything. But for you to have those exchanges with Mayu that young, you said you were only wrestling a year and a half when you wrestled Mayu?
At that point, yeah, I think it was about a year and a half. Yeah, because I hit 2 years later that year in October. So yeah, about a year and a half.
Wow, so you've been wrestling less than 3 years then.
Yeah, I'll hit 3 in October.
Wow, you have a heck of a resume. Again, the names we just announced, I know that obviously you've wrestled Athena before. You wrestled, I believe, Megan Bain. You wrestled Queen Amanana on Ring of Honor TV. So not a bad first 2.5 to 3 years to start your career. That's
Definitely
awesome.
not.
That's awesome. And what also is great before we hit the record button is that as soon as we get done hitting the record button, you're off to go to train with the forever champion in
Yes, I got to
Athena.
take all my makeup off.
So you didn't have to get dolled up for us. That's fine.
Of course I had to.
But again, it's always great seeing like people that are still learning, because you see it from time to time. Like once somebody gets a big match with somebody, or once somebody gets on TV, they only go to the gym and then they stop going to the ring. So that was really refreshing to me. It's like she's on top of the world less than 3 years in, and then she's going to training right after this interview. So that's great. That's only going to show that you're just going to constantly get better. So I'm feeling big things are in the future for you already. I mean, you've already accomplished so much, but considering the fact you're continuing to work at it, you continue to have a passion and a love for it, that just big and better things are going to happen. And here's one thing I do want to touch upon: the world of wrestling, especially women's wrestling now, is bigger than it's ever been before. Because you look at what's going on with WWE, you basically have 3 brands over there, even 4 with Evolve, but you have Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Evolve, TNA is doing great. AEW is doing fantastic. And I watch AEW every week because I have friends there. And plus, I love the product. In my opinion, the best thing on AEW is the women's division with Mercedes and Tony. And then we talked about Japan. Obviously, Stardom is your big goal. But not only is it Stardom, you have Marigold, you have Marvelous, as we talked about. You have Tokyo Joshi Pro. You have so many other great Oz Academy, so many great promotions that you can really go to. Is that something that you see now? It's just like, wow, like the world really is my oyster. And then whenever the time's right, there's something that you can go to from there.
Yes, definitely. That's honestly my main thing has been I want to make it a pressure or make my name known all over the world before I even sign a contract. Even if like, of course, if they offer me a contract tomorrow, I'll sign it for sure. But like while I'm waiting for that to happen for me, I want to go all over the world. I want to go to the UK. I want to wrestle all over Japan. I want to wrestle all over the country, and then build my name up and do what I need to do to become a star or to be a star, and then sign a contract eventually. But definitely my number one goal is Japan. Like I want to go there just because there's so many girls who went there who've gotten so much better in Japan before I even knew that they were doing that. and then they come on TV, and then you're like, I'm like, where did Jamie Hayter come from? I knew she wrestled in Stardom at one point. I know Tony wrestled in Stardom at one point. Obviously not now, like this was years ago. I was like, where'd she come from? But I know that like they wrestled in Stardom at one point. They wrestled in Japan. They did that. Like they built their name all over the world and then went on to be stars on TV. So that's honestly my main goal.
Yeah, you always hear stories of somebody that got signed too quick, and then all of a sudden they weren't sure how to react to something, and it kind of might have messed up their career. But you always take a look at, I'm a generation before you, like even with the men, with Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, wrestlers like that, where they made their name in Japan, and then when they came over to ECW and then WCW and the WWE, it's like they took proper steps to get there. And
Right.
one of the biggest signings WWE just had is the former Mariah May, Blake Monroe, and I always say, like, she is playing her career perfectly, because she's been very adamant since she broke into the UK indie scene that she wants to go to WWE.
Yeah, she has.
And I believe she had a tryout a handful of years ago. And had she got signed there, I don't know if she was necessarily ready. And again, for somebody who does a Stardom podcast and has seen pretty much every Stardom match the last 5 years, when she first debuted for Stardom, she was in Mina Shirakawa's group, Club Venus. So when Mina came back from her injury from Saya Kamatani, she came back with she came back with 2 other people. It's like, okay, I know who Zaya Brookside is because I followed the UK Indies, and her dad's a legend. And I'm like, who's this other girl with her? And then all of a sudden, it's like Mariah would constantly getting better and better and better. And then her and win the goddess titles. And then she goes and has a great run in the 5-star Grand Prix with matches with Azumi and Julie and so on and so forth. And then she leaves at the proper time because she's able to build herself up, goes to AEW, has just, in my opinion, the best storyline in the history of AEW, Mariah May. That ends, and you're kind of like, where do you go now, Mariah? And then she signs and goes to NXT. So I totally see your point where, yeah, sure, if you got offered a contract tomorrow, you would sign. Why would you miss that opportunity? But I think your mindset, the way you're going about it, is like, let me build up my name in Japan, in the Indies, AEW TV, Ring of Honor TV, who knows, TNA, Mexico, England. And then by that time, your name is built up. You have more cachet than you already do. Then all of a sudden, boom, you're on, Netflix, or you're on TBS or TNT. I think that is the right way to go. And again, for somebody so young in their career and young in life, you have a really smart mind for the business. Is there anybody that has taught you that, or is that just something that you've kind of picked up along the way?
Honestly, I kind of picked it up just from being a big fan of women's wrestling. Of course, I love wrestling in total. Like I love the men, but the women who I've watched forever, like that's who I obviously keep my eye on because I am a woman. But just from what I've seen from people, like of course, like you said, like someone like Mariah, if she got signed back when she first started, which she could have because she had to look and she was pretty good, and she could have went to the PC and trained up and been on NXT, but it wouldn't have been the same as how she debuted here. She debuted as a star. She got a big pop on NXT. It's because she built her name in Japan. She built her name up in AEW, and she eventually signed to NXT. But like honestly, I had that mindset just from watching and just from that. But like that kind of got reiterated to me and like validated to me by someone like Athena, who's been my mentor, who showed me things like that. Like of course she wants me to get signed like tomorrow. Like she's pushing for me and she's doing all that. But she also was like, also, still do what you need to do as of right now. Wrestle here, wrestle there, wrestle like wherever you can. Keep building up your name, and then I think that's better than just signing somewhere when you probably are not ready or when you're not as big as you can be if you do that.
Yeah, again, that's great to have a mentor like her. She's the longest champion in the history of Ring of Honor, considering the fact the lineage of that company, Nigel McGuinness, Samoa Joe, CM Punk, Jay Lethal, that she's on top. That is a heck of an accomplishment. Maya, I know that your time is limited again because you're going off to train with Athena, which is is great. That you're just nonstop work ethic, which is great. Obviously, I want to get to your big match with Hazuki coming up this weekend for Spark Joshi. But we've had a couple of really good questions we've had from our listeners, and I kind of want to rewind the clock back pretty much as far as possible. What got you into wrestling? Like, I'm assuming you were a fan growing up. Is there like one thing that you remember, or a match or a wrestler that you became a fan, and then something, a switch went off in your head and said, "Ooh, I can do that because such and such, or because I saw a certain match"? Was there anything like that?
There's definitely, how I started is I started with just like loving it and just watching wrestling, but I didn't want to be a wrestler till 2015 when I saw Sasha Banks. But for me, I remember my brother was watching. I don't remember if it was a Raw or SmackDown. I just remember seeing Undertaker on the screen, and I loved Undertaker. I was an avid Undertaker fan, so that kind of got me into it. I saw Undertaker, and I was like, "Oh, he's kind of scary but cool." Like like I think I was so scared of him that I loved him, because I was young. And then of course, I watched more with him, and eventually the Divas came on the screen because they weren't on the TV every week, but they would come sometimes, and so I think Kelly Kelly was my first favorite. I loved Kelly Kelly. That was my girl. Like I played her with her on all the games and everything. And that was just like I was watching it, and at that time I was starting to come into my own. Just growing up, and I played a lot of sports. So um, I was on and off with watching wrestling from like 2011 to 2013 when she left. When Kelly Kelly left, my heart broke. I didn't even watch it anymore after that. Well, I didn't watch for like a year, and then I came back, of course. My heart was broken. I hated it, and that was 2012 actually. I remember coming back in like 2014. Again, at this point, I didn't want to wrestle. I just loved wrestling. And then 2015 happened. I saw Sasha Banks. I thought she was the coolest person I've ever seen ever. So I just honestly I went on a binge. I think I watched every Sasha Banks video that there was on the internet when I first saw her in 2015. And then from there I was like, gosh. And honestly, I wanted to get into wrestling at first just so I could meet her. Like that's how much I loved her. I was like, I want to wrestle just so I can meet this woman and like tell her how much she means to me. And then of course I like started like falling in love with it on a different level. Like, dang, I really want to do that. After that happened, and then 2021, I finally started.
How cool is it to see Sasha Banks now, obviously Mercedes Moné,
Yes.
basically like when you're in that part of me, that WWE bubble, and she could have had a job there for life and been set really well. And then she goes and bets on herself.
Mm-hmm.
She goes and does, obviously wrestling in Japan and now massive star AEW goes into, I'm a big Star Wars fan and she's in Star Wars.
Yep.
How cool is it to see her like here? She's outside of that WWE bubble now, not only wrestling AEW, but you see her wrestling like the indies, the British indies. And again, for us big fans of Stardom, she's wrestled, Mina Shirakawa, Azumi, Hazuki, Momo Watanabe twice. Like, how cool and inspiring is that for, your one of the problem that might be your ultimate dream match would be
Yeah.
one Mercedes Moné. How cool is it for to see her like leaving the WWE, betting on herself, and in my opinion, making a bigger name for herself. And don't get me wrong, she was a huge name in WWE, and in my opinion, having even better matches. And again, she had great matches with Bayley, great matches with Charlotte. That main event match she had at Mania 37 with Bianca Belair was
Yes.
absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And again, only one of 5 women to main event a WrestleMania,
Yep.
and she put on a performance of a lifetime. But in my opinion, she's having better matches now
For
because
sure.
she bet on herself. So how much of like is that an inspiration for you and something to really shoot forward towards?
Definitely, and it was one of those things where what I was saying before about how betting on yourself and make yourself big around the world. She kind of helped open my eyes to that as well, just from the fact that she did bet on herself. She knows that there's an alternative. There's not just WWE anymore. Now there's AEW. But of course, even before she went to AEW, she wanted to fulfill her dream of going to Japan, which is just how big Stardom is and how big just wrestling and honorable wrestling in Japan is. Which is another thing, like why I had that mindset of wrestle here and wrestle all over the world just to build your name up. But I mean, honestly, it just made me realize like that there's a chance I could one day wrestle her. Like, of course, I wanted to go to WWE. I want to go to AEW. I don't have a preference, of course, but like in WWE, I know it's going to be a while to get there. Somewhere like AEW, I could be on Collision the next week for being like an extra and just wrestle her. Like something quick like that could happen. So it just like helped me see like there's alternatives, and you don't have to stress yourself out to get to this level. Because there's more things to get to. There's Stardom. There's other places you can get to. Like I said, build your name up, and then one day I honestly believe that I will wrestle her one day. So I'm very excited and can't wait for that.
Again, less than 3 years in your career, you wrestled Aja Khan, Kyoko Inoue, team with Starlight Kid, wrestled Azumi, wrestled Yamashita. Yeah, I think it'd be a pretty safe bet that you and one Mercedes Moné will be across the ring from each other. I mean, again, look at your resume already. It's insane in the best way possible. If you can, like, say Stardom signs you in a month or two, and you can have your pick of what faction, because Stardom is very big on the factions. What faction do you think you would fit best in, or what faction do you think you'd want to go to? Because to me, the style that you wrestle and just how much you love wrestling, I already know what faction you'd be perfect for. And I could already hear our listeners yelling at their
Yes.
phones and yelling at in their cars. So she'd be good for this. But let's just see if we're on the same page. What faction? Current day
We might
faction.
not be because this is a bad girl faction. But I love Saya Kamatani and what she's doing right now.
She's
So
amazing.
she's just amazing, and her look, everything about her is just amazing. So definitely hers. But which one are you talking about? Because
Okay, so you would join. Hey, I would think that you
yeah,
would be perfect, especially
I love Hate, and I just watched their show. I just watched Stardom. What was it called? I forgot the name of it, but the one that just aired the same
the
night as
the
uh
conversion, the pay-per-view.
yes, where Syuri and Syuri wrestled. I just watched their match with Hazuki, actually, which is good for me because I didn't even know she was wrestling, and I got some tape study. When she wrestled Hazuki, and her partner, I can't. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Kagama.
Okay, thank you. I could not think of her name
FWC.
at this moment. I
Yeah.
love Hate. Just their look. I love their gear. I love their look. I think that would be perfect for me. I would love to join Hate.
Sai Kamatani has so much buzz.
She has.
It's
She's
insane.
definitely one of the best right now. Definitely
I
going.
I think, and again, I watch all sorts of wrestling. I watch WWE,
Right.
I watch AEW. We're 6 months into this year, and if you were telling me who's the best wrestler this year, it's Saya Kamatani. Like I
Yeah,
love Will
she's so
Ospreay. I think he's
amazing.
great. I think Saya Kamatani has separated herself. And again, the buzz she is doing, not only is she a great wrestler, but she's getting everybody else in the match over, whether they're on the same team or across the ring. And not only is she doing it as a singles wrestler, she's doing it in tag, she's doing it in
Yep.
6-person, she's doing an 8-person. She is a special talent. And I know a lot of people are now watching Stardom because of her. And I say all the time, go back and watch her stuff when she was a babyface as Wonder of Stardom champion.
Yes.
480 days, one of the best title reigns in the last 20 years of all of Japanese wrestling, both on the men and the women, because she's absolutely fantastic. But mine, maybe because you team with Starlight Kid, I think you'd be perfect for Neo Genesis. I think you'd.
Really? I feel like that was the one you were gonna say since I teamed with her. I mean honestly, you already know me at this point, any of them. But I love Hate just because their look. But of course I love Starlight and we got along really well and our tag went really well, even though we did not come out on top. But um I I would love to join Neo Genesis, honestly.
Yeah, I think you'd be great just about in any faction. Obviously, EXV they need members. Obviously, Stars they need members. But the Hate thing, I think maybe why I didn't say Hate because I think they have like 42 members right now, so it might get a little convoluted. But at the same time, you'd be teaming with Saya, Momo Watanabe, Rina, Natsuko Tora, Konami. Team with Konami again. So yeah, I guess
Yes, exactly.
really the sky's the limit. But let's get to the main event. The main reason why we are here, big matchup coming up this weekend for the Spark Joshi Championship against probably no pressure on you, probably our favorite wrestler here on the Stardom cast, one
Oh,
Hazuki, the
really?
Wild Heart. Yes, we call her the People's Champion, the Wrestling Machine, no days off Hazuki. Obviously, you've seen a whole bunch of tape on Hazuki. Hazuki's one of one. She is very much like an Azumi, a Starlight Kid, kind of into a category of her own because she's a great high-speed style wrestler. She is a
Yes.
very hard-hitting wrestler. And
Yes.
the way she builds up her finishes in these big matches, which again, main event for a championship, you're going to have this weekend. But like, what's the mental preparation getting into a match like with Hazuki?
Uh, Honestly, my mental preparation is always tape studying, just knowing people's movements and how they move, and like knowing what they're gonna do. The thing about Hazuki is, like you said, Hazuki and a lot of girls I've been wrestling from Stardom is that they're known on a national level that a lot of people see. So a lot of the things I can do is watch tape, and of course they can watch some of me, but I can watch all their tape, and of course I've watched them for years anyway, so I kind of already knew what they were doing. But I just watched her match, like I said, at Convergence. I keep forgetting the name of it.
Conversion.
I watched her match again with Mercedes, which is one of my favorite matches of the year so far. Not of the year so far, but one of my favorite matches that she's had ever. And even when it happened, I watched that match about 4 times. So I already have something scouted for Hazuki. Again, like I said, we're in Texas now. I don't know when the last time Sparkus came to Texas. I don't know if it's the first time, but like it just made a big chip on my shoulder just because, like I said, we're in my hometown in my hometown, we're in my home state, where I'm, wrestling all over the state. I have championships all over the state. Like I have to prove why I say I'm like one of the best in Texas. So like I said, there's just a lot of my mental preparation or preparation at all is just me having the confidence and wanting to prove people wrong. So just from that alone, like I'm ready for this match, and I do believe I will be the new Spark Joshi champion. So, and I think we're the main event, which is another thing that I'm like, now I have to go all out. Now I can't walk out without this championship at all.
Yeah, obviously, again, you're a massive fan of Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, as am I, and it may just be my Hazuki bias, but I think the best in-ring match he's ever had was that match with
That was a
Hazuki.
great match for Mercedes, yes.
Yeah,
And
that
you
was
can bring out so much good stuff in Mercedes and vice versa, of course. But yeah, that was one of my favorite matches ever.
one of the best women's matches I've seen on American soil. It's either
Yes.
that, like I get asked a lot, like what is your favorite women's match that happened on American soil? And there's a bunch of like Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte at Mania 39, Sasha and Bailey from the Takeover, that match. But I think the EO three-way with Bianca Belair and
Yes.
Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania weekend, that was incredible. And it's always great to see. Again, WrestleMania, it's the biggest show of the year. Regardless if you like WWE or not, you can't deny, when they're filling football stadiums, 2 nights in a row, it's the biggest show of the year. But like EO was the best performer on the biggest show of the year.
Yes,
Like,
she was.
and she was the best. That was the best match. She was the best performer, better than Cena, better than Cody, Punk, Roman, which is crazy to say, but it's just like when given the ball, like EO she's the best wrestler in that company.
She's definitely my favorite.
Yeah, you did mention you're doing tape studies on one Hazuki. Did you by chance get to see Hazuki versus Saya Kamatani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship?
I did. Whenever you were mentioning that reign, I was thinking about that match because that was one of my favorite matches. Also, actually, I got to see it when it happened, but I haven't got to watch it back yet because I was watching some that happened recently, just because just more recent stuff, of course. But I do want to go watch that match back. And there's a few other ones that I actually seen just looking it up, like Hazuki versus, and it wasn't showing me full matches; it was just showing like highlights. So I was like, nah, I gotta go watch these back. But definitely is one of the ones I want to go watch back.
Yeah, in my opinion, that is the greatest Wonder of Stardom championship match in the history of that title, in the history of Stardom. Considering the fact that Kairi's had the belt, Mayu's had the belt, Io's had the belt. That is not, 3-1,
And Hazuki,
23.
she has a theme of having these great matches like ever. So like that's exactly what I'm expecting on Sunday, and I hope I get that also because I'm definitely preparing for it, and I definitely think I have what it takes to have that kind of match.
The one thing we noticed with Hazuki is, again, she has, again, you were cross the ring with Azumi, so you're familiar with that high speed style. Again, we obviously have seen a whole bunch of your matches. You're familiar with that style. Hazuki's a very hard hitter.
Yeah.
She's a very hard hitter, which brings me to my next question. It's a question we ask all the time on the Stardom cast. In your career, in your less than 3-year career, again, you've been in the ring with names past, present, and future. Who has hit you the hardest?
Honestly, you know what? For me personally, because I still think about this to this day, this freaking hit I took 2 in a row actually. Queen Amanada probably is the most hard hitting, and she lays it in and she does not care. It's probably Queen Amanada. I wrestled her, I wrestled her on Ring of Honor. Probably Queen Amanada, to be honest. Of course, there's Athena, of course, but Queen Amanada is probably her. I think about that all the time.
Yeah, I think she was trained by Chigusa Nagayo, wasn't she?
Yes, actually she was, or that was at least one of them, yes.
Yeah, I've noticed she's a very hard hitter. And again, she's another one. Considering the fact AEW has this working relationship with Stardom, she's another one I would love to see against a Syuri, a Momo Watanabe, a Konami, so on and so forth. So
I would love to see like her or someone like Athena in the 5-star. Like I think that'd be amazing. That'd be cool. We need to push for that. Athena in the 5-star.
Yeah, you know what else we're going to push for? You said that you are fully taking the Spark Joshi Championship from Hazuki, and one of the reasons is because it's in your backyard. If that does happen, even if it doesn't, I'm not, I'm going to say you have a really good shot. Even if it doesn't, win, lose, or draw, I say you run you and Hazuki back in Stardom in Cork and Hall. What would we say here?
That'd be amazing. There's so many like historical venues that I have not checked off my list yet, and they need to happen. Like, and that was my number one for sure, just because how much I love Japan and Stardom and Joshi wrestling in general. Korean is definitely my number one.
Is there, as we're because I know you need to go, as we're getting ready to wind down, is there like one or two Joshi wrestlers that was like your number one? Again, you mentioned Sasha Banks Mercedes is probably your most influential. Is there one or two Joshi wrestlers that is like your most influential?
I know everybody says Manami, but like if you watch her matches, like come on, like of course it's Manami. She's definitely my number one. Definitely Manami. Of course, there's so many, and I watched back because there's this website that I have that I can watch back all the All Japan shows from like back in the day, and I watched a lot, and there's some crazy talents on there. So definitely, but definitely Manami though, and more recent Mayu Iwatani, like or Io. Oh, it's hard. I can't say two. I'm gonna say three. Manami, Mayu, and Io for more recent. Like I watched all of their stuff when I started because it's one of those things where I didn't know much about the indies. I didn't know much about like anything else outside of WWE because that's just like that's what happens. But when I started wrestling and I found Stardom, Io, Mayu are the ones I studied the most for sure.
Yeah, I always tell people that I would ask all the time, where do you start to get into Stardom? And it's tough, but obviously a
It's
lot of people
spirit.
know, who EO is because she's a massive star on the biggest
Now,
stage.
yeah.
And as great as the matches she's having, to me, the probably three best matches she's ever had were the trilogy she had with Mayu for the Red Belt from
Yep.
2016 to 2017. And they're available. It's really weird because they're not on Stardom World. I'm like, these might be the best three matches the company's ever had. They're not on Stardom World because of TV rights, but they're available on YouTube. So I just tell people, go on
Yes,
YouTube,
exactly.
type in Mayu and Io, but I tell them watch them in order. Like you can watch them out of order and you'll still enjoy them. But if you watch them in order, you see like very much like a Marvel movie or like a trilogy, how it really builds. But again, I know that you need to go train with the Forever Champion to get ready for your big match against the People's Champion in Hazuki. One last question before you go. Again, less than 3 years into your career, so many great matches you've already had. What is one or two matches like that is your personal favorite? Does one or two stand out for you?
Yes, for sure. Um, I'm gonna do honorable mention. Of course, my match with Athena is definitely an honorable mention. But just for what they meant to me, and it's definitely not just from on the starting cast podcast, of course, but definitely the ones with like maybe definitely the tag match with um Starlight versus Azumi and Johnny Robbie, just because what it meant to me, of course, because Azumi is one who I've wanted to face forever, and just teaming with Starlight was amazing, and definitely the Mayu Iwatani match, just because what it did for me to elevate me for the rest of 2024 and for now.
Well, there you go. There you go. Great stuff. And again, and hopefully when we revisit these, we have you back on the Stardom cast that you're like, it was Hazuki. It was this person. It was my
Yes.
match in Cork and Hall. I
Yes.
wrestled Syuri in the Budokan or something like that. Or my
Hopefully
opening match
so.
in the 5-star Grand Prix versus Starlight Kid. The world is your oyster, pun, I guess somewhat intended, Maya. But before we let you go, why don't you plug your stuff?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, by the way. You can follow my Instagram. It's at It's Maya World with two D's. The same thing on Twitter with just one D is Maya World. I mean, if you use Facebook, my Facebook is at Maya World, and my YouTube is Maya World Official.
There you go, folks. And don't forget to catch Maya wrestling in the main event against one Hazuki for the Spark Joshi Championship. Tickets are selling at a rapid rate. If you're in the area, from what I understand, there's going to be hopefully a streaming service coming soon. Once we get more details, we will plug that all over the Stardom Cast website and on the podcast later this week. But once again, Maya, we cannot say thank you enough. This was a great interview. Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and the Twitter is the easiest, fastest, and best way to get a hold of me. If you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine. The email address simply is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another interview. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because when we're all together, everybody's different, everybody's special. Maya, thank you again so much. Safe travels and good luck this weekend taking on the Spark Joshi Championship, one Hazuki.
And new. Thank you so much.
Thank you.